I never thought the people I loved most would be the ones to betray me. When I bought the house 3 years ago, it felt like a dream come true. I had worked tirelessly for it, countless late nights at the office, weekends spent on freelance projects, and cutting back on every luxury just to save enough for a down payment. The day I got the keys, I remember standing in the empty living room, tears streaming down my face. It wasn't just a house, it was proof that my sacrifices had been worth it. My parents, on the other hand, had always struggled financially. My father's health had been deteriorating for years due to diabetes, and my mother spent most of her days taking care of him. Their home was falling apart, and the rent kept increasing. My younger brother, Samuel, was in university at the time and barely making ends meet with his part-time job. So when I got the house, it felt natural to invite them to live with me. "Don't worry about paying rent," I told them, smiling as we sat around the kitchen table that first night. "This is our home now. I just want us to be together and for you to focus on getting back on your feet." My mother's eyes welled up with tears, and my father hugged me tightly, whispering, "God bless you, child." Samuel grinned from ear to ear, already talking about how he would finally have his own room. At that moment, I felt proud to be able to provide for my family, to give them stability when life had been so cruel. The first few months were wonderful. My father's health seemed to improve with the stress of rent gone, and my mother's laughter filled the halls again. Samuel brought home his friends occasionally, and the house felt alive and warm. It was exactly how I'd imagined it, a loving home filled with the people who meant everything to me. But slowly, things began to change. At first, it was small things. My groceries would disappear faster than usual. Lights were left on all night. I'd come home to find dirty dishes piled high in the sink. I shrugged it off. After all, this was family, what was mine was theirs. Then, Samuel started coming home late, sometimes past midnight, smelling of alcohol. I gently confronted him one evening, asking him to be mindful and respectful since it was a shared home. He rolled his eyes and muttered, "Relax, you're not my mom." My mother, overhearing, immediately rushed to his defense. "He's young, let him enjoy himself. You work too hard to understand what youth is like these days." I swallowed my frustration, reminding myself that this was temporary. Samuel would finish school soon, my father's health would stabilize, and eventually, everyone would pitch in to make things better. But instead of improving, things spiraled out of control. One Saturday morning, I woke up to loud voices in the kitchen. My mother and father were arguing about money. Curious, I went to see what was happening, and what I overheard shook me. "We can't keep living like this, Joseph," my mother snapped. "We need more money. She's doing well for herself, but she's too stingy to share." My father sighed, rubbing his temples. "She's already paying the mortgage, food, utilities." "And so what?" my mother interrupted. "She has a good job, a good salary. Meanwhile, we're just stuck here, relying on her charity. It's humiliating." I froze in the doorway, unable to believe what I was hearing. Humiliating? I had sacrificed so much to give them a comfortable life, and now it felt like my efforts were being twisted into some kind of insult. I quietly retreated to my room, tears stinging my eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. A seed of doubt had been planted in my heart. Was my family truly grateful, or had they started to resent me? The answer came sooner than I expected. 2 weeks later, I came home early from work to find a group of strangers sitting in my living room. They were laughing, eating, and drinking as if it were their own house. Samuel was in the center of it all, music blasting from a speaker. "Samuel!" I shouted, trying to be heard over the noise. "Who are these people? Why are they in my house?" He barely glanced at me. "Relax, sis. We're just hanging out. No big deal." "No big deal?" My voice trembled with anger. "This isn't a club. This is my home, and you didn't even ask me." Before Samuel could reply, my mother emerged from the kitchen, scowling. Why are you yelling? They're just his friends. You're making a scene over nothing. Nothing? I stared at her in disbelief. I come home to find a bunch of strangers eating my food, using my things, and you think that's nothing? The tension escalated quickly. My father, weak and tired, tried to mediate, but Samuel's friends eventually left, clearly uncomfortable with the shouting. That night, Samuel slammed his door and didn't speak to me. My mother barely looked at me, and even my father seemed distant. The warm, loving home I had built was crumbling before my eyes. I decided to set boundaries. The next morning, I gathered everyone in the living room. Look, I began, my voice firm but calm, I love you all, but this can't continue. I bought this house so we could have a safe, peaceful home. From now on, no guests without my permission, and everyone has to contribute, chores, groceries, something. I can't keep doing this alone. Samuel crossed his arms, glaring. So, now you think you're our boss? Just because you pay for everything? My mother nodded in agreement. You've been acting like a dictator lately. This is our home too, you know. My heart sank. Our home? Yes, I had said that once, but I didn't realize they had taken it to mean I had no say in how it was run. For weeks, the tension simmered. Samuel ignored the rules entirely, my mother gave me the cold shoulder, and my father retreated into silence. I felt like a stranger in my own house. Then came the breaking point. One Friday evening, I returned home to find all my belongings, clothes, shoes, personal items, packed into boxes by the front door. What is this? I stammered, my voice shaking. Samuel stood there with a smug smile. We had a family meeting. We've decided you should leave. The words hit me like a physical blow. Leave? This is my house. I pay the mortgage. My mother cut me off sharply. You've made this place unbearable with your rules and attitude. You think you're better than us just because you have money. We've decided it's best if you go find somewhere else to live. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own family, the people I had given everything for, were kicking me out of my own home. For a moment, I stood frozen, my heart pounding. Then anger surged through me. No, I said quietly, but with a steely edge to my voice. This house is mine. My name is on the deed. If anyone is leaving, it's not me. Samuel laughed mockingly. Oh yeah? Try forcing us out. You'll see how that goes. And with that, he slammed the door to his room, leaving me standing there amidst the boxes, shaking with rage and heartbreak. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My mind raced with questions. How did it come to this? How could my own family turn on me? But beneath the pain, a cold, determined thought began to form. If they wanted a battle for this house, they would get one. The next morning, I woke up to an eerie silence. The house, usually buzzing with noise, felt unnaturally still. My stomach churned as I got out of bed, determined to confront my family once and for all. When I entered the living room, Samuel and my parents were seated together, whispering. They went quiet the moment they saw me, their expressions cold and unwelcoming. It felt like I was standing in front of strangers rather than the people I had sacrificed everything for. I drew a deep breath and spoke firmly. I need you all to understand something, this house is legally mine. I worked for it, I pay the bills, and I have been supporting everyone here out of love. But what you're doing now, trying to force me out of my own home, is betrayal. My mother's lips tightened. Betrayal? She repeated bitterly. No. What's betrayal is you lording this house over us, making us feel like we're unwanted guests. We've been walking on eggshells ever since we moved in. I blinked, stunned. Walking on eggshells? I've done everything to make you comfortable. I've paid for food, medicine, Samuel's tuition. That's not love, Samuel interrupted with a sneer. That's control. You think throwing money at us gives you the right to tell us how to live. My hands trembled, my voice breaking. I just wanted to help. I wanted us to be a family. Samuel stood, towering over me. Well, here's the truth, sis, we've decided this is our house now. You're the one who doesn't belong here. His words sliced through me like a knife. I turned to my father, hoping for some sign of support. His eyes were downcast, avoiding mine. Dad, please, I whispered. Say something. You know this isn't right. But he remained silent, his loyalty divided. That hurt more than anything. A cold, heavy realization settled in my chest. They had made their choice. I straightened my back, tears threatening to spill but refusing to show weakness. Fine. If that's how you feel, then we'll handle this legally. Samuel scoffed. Go ahead. Take us to court. You'll ruin your reputation and make a fool of yourself. I walked away without another word, my heart pounding. In my room, I locked the door and immediately called a lawyer. It was time to fight for what was mine. Over the next few days, the house turned into a battlefield. Samuel blared music late into the night, deliberately trying to provoke me. My mother stopped cooking for me and hid food whenever I went grocery shopping. Even my father avoided me completely, pretending to be asleep whenever I entered a room. It was pure psychological warfare, and I felt myself unraveling. One evening, after a particularly vicious shouting match with Samuel, I broke down crying in my car. My chest ached with heartbreak. How could they do this to me? That's when my phone buzzed. It was my lawyer. I've looked over your case, she said. Legally, you have every right to evict them. It won't be easy, but if you're ready to proceed, we can file the paperwork tomorrow. A wave of relief washed over me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. The next morning, I walked into the living room with a folder of documents. My family was sitting there, looking smug and victorious, until they saw what was in my hands. These are eviction notices, I said, my voice steady. You have 30 days to leave. The room erupted in chaos. My mother screamed, Samuel cursed, and my father sat frozen in shock. But I didn't flinch. This isn't what I wanted, I said through gritted teeth. But you've left me no choice. The next 30 days were pure agony. The house was no longer a home, it was a war zone. My mother wept loudly every night, her cries echoing through the hallways like a haunting reminder of the rift between us. Samuel grew more hostile by the day, slamming doors, yelling insults, and deliberately leaving messes for me to clean up. My father avoided me completely, spending most of his time sitting silently on the porch, staring into the distance. As the deadline approached, the tension grew unbearable. I had moments where I questioned myself. Was I doing the right thing? Was I being too harsh? But every time I wavered, I reminded myself of the night they packed my belongings and tried to kick me out. They had chosen this path. On the 30th day, I returned home from work to find all three of them waiting in the living room. Their faces were a mixture of defiance and desperation. Samuel was the first to speak. We're not leaving. His tone was cold, unyielding. You can call the police, take us to court, do whatever you want. We're not going anywhere. My mother's eyes glistened with tears. This is our family home. We've built memories here. You can't just throw us out like garbage. Anger flared inside me. Our family home? I said, my voice trembling. I bought this house with my hard-earned money. I opened my doors to you because I love you. But instead of gratitude, you gave me betrayal. Samuel stepped forward, fists clenched. You think you're better than us because you have money and a deed. But this house isn't just about papers, it's about family. And family doesn't evict family. His words stung, but I didn't back down. Family doesn't steal from family either. Family doesn't gang up and try to push someone out of their own home. My father finally spoke, his voice quiet but heavy. Maybe we all made mistakes. Maybe pride has blinded us. He looked at Samuel and my mother, then at me. But tearing each other apart like this won't solve anything. For a moment, silence hung in the air. I wanted to believe his words, to cling to the hope that things could go back to how they were. But deep down, I knew too much damage had been done. I took a deep breath, my decision clear. I've already filed the eviction with the court, I said softly but firmly. If you refuse to leave, the authorities will come, and it will be much worse. Please, don't make this harder than it has to be. My mother collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Samuel glared at me with pure hatred. My father simply closed his eyes, tears slipping down his cheeks. 2 weeks later, they were gone. The day they moved out, I stood by the window, watching as they loaded their belongings into an old pickup truck. My mother didn't look at me once. Samuel spat on the ground as he passed me, muttering curses under his breath. My father paused for a moment, his eyes meeting mine with a sorrow I'll never forget. Then they drove away, leaving me alone in the house that had once been full of life and laughter. As the dust settled, I sank onto the living room floor, my heart heavy. I had won the battle, but lost my family. In the weeks that followed, the house felt unbearably quiet. I wandered through the empty rooms, haunted by memories of better days. One evening, while cleaning out the kitchen, I found a photograph tucked behind the fridge. It was of all of us on the day we first moved in, smiling, hugging, full of hope. Tears blurred my vision as I held the photo to my chest. In that moment, I realized something painful but true. Sometimes, love and generosity aren't enough to save a family. Sometimes, the very people you sacrifice for will be the ones to break your heart. I didn't regret helping them, but I regretted not setting boundaries sooner. As I placed the photo back in a drawer, I whispered to the empty room, never again. From that day forward, I vowed to protect not just my home, but also my peace, even if it meant standing alone. Love and sacrifice are noble, but without respect and boundaries, they can turn into chains. True family isn't just about blood, it's about mutual care, gratitude, and trust. And when those things are broken, sometimes the hardest choice is also the right one.